What is good, YouTube? Quinn Wade. This time I'm coming with a discussion video, and it's mainly because it was an NBA legend that I really respect, and he is a top 50 player all time. Y'all probably already know his name, but I'm not going to say it because he sparked something very interesting that's really has changed as the years have went on in the NBA, including in the modern era. He said, "Why don't you like LeBron?" was the question to him. He summed it up best about the person's career. You're not climbing the mountain, you are taking the helicopter to the top, is what he said. I grew up watching NBA stars struggle, lose, and be at the bottom. They never gave up, kept getting better, and worked harder until they won. It was special. It was meant so much when you got that victory and that you got it done. This particular person didn't do it in his career in the NBA Finals. He couldn't get it done, but he was still able to make it there multiple times. But he calling your competition and teaming up with them will always be a weak move. I can never cheer for that or respect it. And that's all he wanted to say about this particular situation. And then I thought about it as a Celtics fan. One thing Kevin Garnett did say going to the Boston was he wished he would have got there earlier because Minnesota just wasn't putting the right team around him for him to contend for titles, especially in the Western Conference. And that's something that we have seen so many other players do now. More players are willing to jump early in a career instead of staying late. We've seen Anthony Davis went out of New Orleans. We've seen Jimmy Butler move around a lot because he wanted to get paid and play with a contender. He wanted both of those things at the same time. And we've seen Chris Paul want to be traded out of New Orleans because he didn't feel like he can win. And he ended up getting up out of there. And it's just been LeBron. Then it's Kevin Durant. Most people looked at Kevin Durant being equal to LeBron, but he lost that first finals in 2012 to LeBron, and then he never got back to the finals. And then he decided ultimately, I want to jump ship from Oklahoma City to go to Golden State so I can basically ensure that I can win an NBA championship. And you can say LeBron James did the same thing, who this person is talking about. And he was one of the leaders of, I want to be able to take my talents wherever I want to go and I want to win championships. And that's my goal right now in my career. And he left Cleveland, where he did make it to the NBA Finals, but got swept by the better team after having a huge performance against the Detroit Pistons to get there, but the team wasn't enough because all they had to do is focus on stopping LeBron, and his teammates couldn't do enough around him to be weapons to be able to take down the Spurs, so they ended up getting swept. And LeBron stayed there a little longer and still couldn't get back to the finals because other teams was putting him out, just like the Celtics, even Orlando Magic, for example. And then he ended up saying, enough is enough. I'm taking my talents to South Beach. He ends up going to the NBA Finals again, loses to the Miami Heat. I mean, loses to the Dallas Mavericks on the Miami Heat, but he eventually gets it done against the Oklahoma City Thunder and the San Antonio Spurs. Then he leaves Dwayne Wade, one of his best friends, and he leaves Chris Bosh to go back to Cleveland to play with Kyrie, and they get Kevin Love too, making another type of super team, which he did get back to the finals multiple times. Wade and won a championship with, which was only one. But when he went to LA, it was not a super team there. But Anthony Davis eventually came along, and they ended up winning the championship in the bubble that year. So that is something that I want to talk about because some of our best players are having that mindset like Isaac Robertson had. We should be free agents. We shouldn't be tied to one team, even though we're great. You always want the great players because that's the players that people want to see. That's who you build around. And those are the guys that usually help you win. And if you win good in the regular season, you have a good chance to win in the postseason. And that's what we have been seeing, is that players do want the freedom to move around because the organizations trade players for whatever they want to all the time. And players just wanted to feel that if I played and fulfilled my contract, I should be able to decide where I want to go to next. And that became something that we see to this day still, that most teams do want to get traded, or they do want to sign to a team that they really want to be a part of, or they think they want to go in this direction and don't really want no heat for it. And LeBron did take a lot of heat in Cleveland, especially was disappointed that he wanted to leave them. They felt like they was going in the right direction and it was getting closer to that championship that he ultimately ended up getting with Kevin Love and Kyrie there, but then he left them again. But they didn't have too big of a problem with it because they ended up getting at least one, and he did go to the finals after that, but lost again. Unfortunately, got swept. But it does make a lot of these conversations interesting because back then you did want to prove that you was great, just like any other great player that's trying to come to the NBA in the first place. But you do need teammates you can trust. You do need players that's going to do their role. You do need players to accept their role, and you do need players to buy in and not just be out there for themselves and just for the check that they can get. And all that is always something that always make people want to leave or come in the first place. So y'all all are never really on the same page because y'all really look for your individual goals, and those things do help you get paid more. And it does help you financially, which can do right for your family and yourself. And those things do get in the way of championships because you need to prioritize that too, because you're not guaranteed to stay in the NBA that long. And back then they wasn't getting paid like the players are getting paid now, which is a crazy amount, even if they get drafted in the first round compared to back then. But I will say I am a person that was kind of shocked when he said, I don't respect it, because LeBron has been one of the great players for over 20 years. He still is one of the best players in the league to this day. You can't question his work ethic. You can't question him as a teammate, besides the fact that he look at teammates leaving this team all the time for their own personal benefit. I feel like I should be able to leave too, but since I'm that great, they want to hold on and love me more because I fill up the seats and I'm the player you want to see win, or I'm the player you want to see lose, because you got to root for him if you're on a different court or you're going against a different team that he's not on, which all makes sense and has always been. But I just find that shocking that he said he couldn't respect it. It's just like taking a helicopter to the top. Like, wow. Because when LeBron went to that team, wherever one, whether it's Miami or whether it's Cleveland, they wasn't even really guaranteed to win the championship. Like, the injuries can happen to any team. You increase your chances of winning the championship, but they used to say if you're not competing for championships, you're playing the game the wrong way. You're going about the game the wrong way, because that's the only thing you should be focusing on. That's the only thing you should be trying to get is the ring. And then it's starting to be conversation this year is, should a player be defined by a ring since it is a team sport? And that is some truth to it. And it does ring that bell of, why is you so against it though? Because it is good that he was able to get that goal accomplished. It was good that he ended up getting some losses in there too, showing you how hard it is still to win a championship, even if you're building around superstars that's recruited by LeBron or they even getting recruited by them. But he found his own way to go about the things that he wanted to do. He knows that it's going to be pros and it's going to be cons to the decision he made. And Kevin Durant knows it too. When you chose to go to Golden State, you knew that a lot of people would be throwing you under the bus. A lot of people was going to be mad at you. A lot of people was going to be disappointed of you because they knew how great of a player you were. And they'd rather you do it the hard and the tough and the difficult way than cut a slightly easier pathway to get there. And Kevin Durant did lose the NBA Finals to the Raptors because he went down with injuries, which still shows you that it's just that hard to win one in general. Like people said, you need luck, you need great players, you need a great bill of health, and you need guys to be bought in 100%, and they still got to be there for 4 rounds, and matchups do matter too. But a lot of these things we start figuring out that it should be accepted. I know that it's not something that you want to hear, but I actually respect Kevin Durant's championships. I actually respect LeBron James championships in Miami and in Cleveland, because he didn't win every year. He stacked the teams and people didn't like it because they thought LeBron should have stayed in Cleveland. That was the main reason why people was against it, because they wanted to see it won, like this legend was saying. And he was right to have entitlement to his own opinion. But these championships are that difficult to do. everybody know your roster going into the season, and the GMs are trying to find a way to combat your roster so that they can win a championship for their own organization. And they're finding ways to get stars, just like you found a way to get a star. And that's why we found some of these teams coming up short, is because of all those 5 reasons that I named. But I do find it interesting that people in the 2020s are still feeling that you have to win it one way. This is the great way to do it. This is the right way to do it. And this is the way it should be done. And we only really going to give credit to a lot of people that do it this way, when it never really goes that way. The GM is usually the recruiter, and he's going to find a way to get the best talent on a roster that plays well and meshes well, and the right coach to figure out how to use everybody the right way and get along with everybody the right way to give y'all a good chance of winning the championship. So since there's so many teams in the league and a lot of great players in the league, and any of them can be attainable, even if it's free agency or even if it's via trade, that a lot of these things show you that it was always a team that was close to the level of a team that LeBron went to. So every year is still tough for him to win, even though he was trying to stack those rosters to favor him being able to beat any team he would go against, because it's a competitive league. Every organization wants to eventually win that championship, especially if their ownership is 100% bought in that that's what they want to do. And I feel the same way as a Celtics fan. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Porzingis, Drew Holiday, Derrick White, and you can go on and on and on and on. That's all the talent that we needed to eventually win the championship, which we did 2 years ago. But look how much talent we needed to get to the finals and be able to win it. And we didn't even win it the next year. We lost in the second round this year, and we still had a lot of talent, especially compared to the Knicks. You can say we had more talent because our stars are probably better than theirs, and we had 3 of them, because you can say it was Tatum, Brown, and Porzingis, or Drew Holiday. You can go either way with it, because Peyton Pritchard was a 6 man of the year, and it was only 3 teams to win 60 games, and only one of them won, and only one of them got to the NBA Finals because Cleveland and Boston didn't, because they both was out in the second round, showing you how difficult and how hard it is to win a championship. So I'm going to have to say I disagree with the legend, but I wanted to hear what you guys had to say. Do you like team hopping? Do you think you should be loyal into the end of your career? Because, like I said, I hear a lot of legends saying if I had to go back and do it, I probably would have switched teams, because I do eventually want to win that championship before I retire, because I don't really want to retire without a ring. I did all these things in the NBA. I dominated it. I was a sellout player when it came to people wanting to see me. I was able to do a lot of all-star game, make the all NBA teams. I'm a Hall of Famer before I'm 35, and I just want that last thing on my resume. And the hardest thing to do is beat the best coaches and the best teams in the playoffs and show that you're the best team at the end of the day when it's over. And man, it is crazy seeing people feel that way about so many great players finding their own way to try to get it done, to chase that goal. And some will call it a dream of being a champion. Some don't mind being number 2. Some didn't like being number 2. Some people willingly wanted to be number 3. Some people didn't even like coming off the bench. And you got players like Bill Walton, who was a Celtic, that wanted to come off the bench to try to win one more and still get paid. And he ended up getting it done without no shame being in this game. So I really don't know where to go with it. I'm still going to say I don't mind team hopping. It makes the game interesting, because you want to see if they're going to get it done. You want to see who can beat them. You want to see how your team is going to find a way to get to the top, to meet them there, to show that they're better, or show that we can build it this way and beat y'all that way. I feel like the Cleveland and the Golden State teams made the NBA a little bit more interesting. It made us want to watch more. It made us want to see more about these teams, and they didn't last that long. We talking about a 3-4 year window with some of these teams, and it was already blown up and it was already broken up that fast. So even when we looked at some of these teams that was built, that we looked at how is teams gonna beat those rosters? How is our teams going to compete with those rosters? And both of them, for example, lost, that was mentioned by this legend. It's crazy. showing you that, man, you can stack these rosters up how much you want to. Is going to be another team that's going to be trying to knock you off. Like I said to these females and to some of these casual NBA fans, at the end of the day, the NBA is a pride fest. They want to show they're better. They want to show they're great. The GM feels that way. The coaches take that same challenge. They ain't going to practice for nothing. They not doing preseason for nothing. They not scouting and going to summer league for nothing. They're trying to do this every single year because this is what's fun to them. This is what they want to accomplish in their life. This is the type of bragging rights they're trying to have before they're 6 feet under in that casket. So it does make a lot of sense, and it is very fun, and it is very interesting to see, can these teams actually stack their way to victory, or will they just collapse because they couldn't win enough of them? They couldn't win as much as they thought that they could, and now we see it. Now we're going to judge them by it, and now we're going to really look at their careers differently, whether if they got it done or they didn't. And it still goes the same way. You can be 32 or 33, still be an all-star caliber player, and still try to hop on another team. It still counts. You don't have to be in your prime of your career like LeBron was or Kevin Durant was. If you still one of the best players of the league and you ask for a trade or you sign to that contract to a different team, that still does count as team hopping because you're trying to join forces with another player you respect to try to win with that player. I hoop myself. I'm not a person that team hopped. I was a person that just went out there and played and tried to dominate as much as I can. And I did win championships and rings doing it my way. And it wasn't easy. It was hard. It was frustrating. It was tough. And I was looking at myself sometimes at what did I get myself into, but I still got it done. But, that's just my side of the story. That's just what I had to do. That's what I wanted to do. So I did it this legend way. So I agree with them, but I can't disagree with the fact that some of these organizations and some of these teams, players just don't want to go there to live there. Players already have other teams and organizations that they prioritize, and other organizations are showing that they're more willing to commit to trying to win championships than other organizations. Some organizations just look at it like players don't want to play here. They just don't want to be here. If we don't draft them and lock them in early, we're not even going to keep a star for 10 years, even if we give them good players, because they're going to find a way to go somewhere else where they can live good, eat good, be more appreciated, be more famous, and make more money off the court for their livelihood and still be able to win. And we just don't have those type of advantages that these other places have. And it's unfortunate and it sucks, but if they tell you that story, it will be factual and it will be true. But we just can't discredit people just because they found a way to do it their way. And if it works, it shows you that they made the right decision. If it didn't work, they deserve the backlash and everything that comes with it too. And I was one of those guys that people didn't like me because I made a decision that they didn't agree with, or they felt that they shouldn't have did, or I shouldn't have did. And I didn't care because I did it my way and got it done. That's the whole purpose of Analysis Playground. This is the way I want to do it. This is the way I like making them. If you love it, you love it. You appreciate it. If you don't, you got other fans that want to leave, or they want to go to another channel, or they support a channel more than mine. Mine's not as big as other channels because they do it a different way and they do it a way that more people like. But you don't see me changing my content. You don't see me mad. You don't see me angry. You don't see me frustrated. You don't see me trying to find a way to copy what everybody else doing and just put it out the same way they do it, because I feel like I'm doing it a way that people love and appreciate too. They just doing it on a higher level of popularity wise, which is cool by me. That's why you see me keep doing my thing this way. And I did the same thing on the court, like I'm doing on Analysis Playground in the studio. So to each their own on it. I don't think that we should be discrediting people. If they get it done, it's just as tough. I know that people look at it just being a top heavy team and that's all that matter. But we've seen with the Thunder, depth does matter. Depth does matter. Can people come in and play their role? Can people come in and contribute? And can they make plays and can they make shots when their opportunity is there? You need that on any type of team, not just on super teams. You still have super teams that still went out and got role players, and some of those role players took pay cuts just to play on them super teams so that they can have their goal accomplished of being champions too. It's not just a superstar thing. I think we get too caught up in that. I want to win with this guy. I want to win with this team when a lot of these people are not really loyal. This is the best situation for me. This is the best situation for you. So let's just make it make sense until we can't do it no more. That's what this legend is kind of missing out to me. It's like a lot of these guys never was really loyal to you. They never was really loyal to the organization. You're paying me the most money. You're giving me the most shots. I'm making the best out of it. And I'm happy that I can do this for as long as I can. That's what the NBA players are really showing you, even back in the day. I'm here for a certain amount of time with the people that I respect, but if they come and go, I'm going to be gone eventually too, even if I retire. Let's just make the fun of it, the best of it, and let's just live with the result that comes with it. Because just because you build a super team is going to be another one built on the other side or in your conference anyway, that's going to make it tough for y'all to win, and that makes for good, great basketball to watch. And that's all we want to see is teams go at it, play hard, and try to do the best they can to win. And if they can win a championship, that's even better, because that's what you should be striving for if you built that team that way anyway. But that doesn't mean it's going to come easy. That doesn't mean it's going to be something that's a breeze. Now, the Warriors, for example, they did win very quickly and very easily some of the time, but they did go 7 games with the Rockets. Let's not forget they was even down going into that fourth quarter before the Rockets collapsed. They could have put them out, and that would have been one of the biggest things that would have blew all of our minds. But it just shows you, just because you got a super team, you're not guaranteed to win. Even though people believe that, even though people get mad at that, because they just mad because they don't have it. They just mad because it didn't happen to their team. And that's just really the truth. And he was the guy that, yeah, you put in the work. Yeah, you was great. Yeah, you had a lot of success, but y'all were just making the best out of the situation. And y'all were just making the best out of y'all careers, because that's the team that believed in y'all. That's the team that kept investing in y'all. And y'all didn't really have to leave. But y'all still didn't get it done. So one of the players ended up leaving anyway, but he was older. No, you still was good, but they look at it differently because you wasn't the best player on that team anymore. Well, that makes sense to a person that's not thinking about it the right way. So y'all got to watch that. You can't get caught up like that. And y'all just got to be wise. Like a lot of these people are starting to evaluate the situation. Once you get into the NBA, you look at things different. You feel a different way the longer you're in it. And if you get injured or you fall off, they're replacing you or getting rid of you, or not trying to be as interested in you when you get older or when you started to fall off a little bit health-wise. These teams are not loyal. These players are not loyal to you. It's all about how can I make the best out of my situation. I think that flew right over his head, because it's just the truth. Some teams, you just got the best out of them and you just kept putting in work, so it was due. But you still got to get it done. At least LeBron and KD got it done their way, and it was paving a different way to think about it. And other legends before they did it wanted to do it. LeBron and KD just actually got it done and made it happen. And that's why they're not really too mad that they're champions, because people gonna hate you or love you regardless. They gonna say what they gonna say. They gonna make up stuff. They gonna just say stuff right out of their neck, even if it makes sense or not, just because they don't want to give you your flowers. They don't want to give you your credit, and they're going to keep finding ways to beat around the bush. And you're going to realize you don't really care what they thought anyway. I was making this decision for my career. I was making this decision for my resume. I wasn't really making it for 100% of the NBA fans. And I think NBA fans get caught up in that too much, that we actually care and want to know their opinion that damn bad when we really don't. And that's what I'm saying. If you saying it depends on the circumstances, that's the same thing, because you're not really guaranteed to win the championship. They could have lost to the Rockets. They went 7 games and they was down in the fourth quarter when it started. They just couldn't make their threes. So, but should you be criticized because you won? Or are you saying we should criticize you because you chose to go to a team that's stacked? Because that's still saying the same thing. Like, you making it seem like a person can't make that decision when LeBron did it too. Kevin Garnett did it too. I don't feel like I can win in Minnesota because they're not putting the right talent around me to be able to win a championship. Minnesota was never going to win a title in the Western Conference. They just wasn't good enough. But they had Kevin Garnett. He raised their ceiling, but they wasn't going to get it done. You know what I mean? And that's why Kevin Durant said it. Like, I don't got nothing against Russell Westbrook. He not Steph Curry. You can't get mad at him for saying that. He had Clay and Draymond. Y'all making it seem like Draymond Green is a top 50 player all time. Y'all making it seem like Klay Thompson was a top 50 player all time. They're great in their roles, but it really was just Steph and Kevin Durant just shredding everything. And they were just that good of a duo. But like I said, Kevin Durant, he didn't have nothing against Russell Westbrook. It just wasn't working out, and they just wasn't getting the results that they wanted. Russ went his way, and Kevin Durant went his way. And that's just the way that it goes, regardless. Like I said, LeBron, he loved Cleveland. That's why he came back. But he also felt like he couldn't get it done unless he had the talent that's needed. Give me Kyrie, give me Kevin Love, and then I come back because I feel like we can win one. And they went to all them finals appearances, and they won the title. You got to meet me halfway. You can't tell me to give you 30 and I don't have nobody else to help me out. I'm not going to win championships. I might win games. I might help us get to the playoffs, but I'm trying to win a championship just like this organization supposed to be putting talent around me to do. A superstar can only do so much. I still need the other players in the coaching staff and organization to do their part too. If they're not doing their part, they're going to lose me. So I'm agreeing with Kevin Durant. I'm agreeing with the Miami Heat with LeBron. If you're not doing your part for me to win, I feel like I should be able to be a free agent like Oscar Robertson and them fought for and go to a team that will. If you're going to continue to put a mediocre roster around me and I'm taking the blame for not being able to win with them, I'm not going to hear that noise. I'm leaving this team and going to an organization that will put the requisite talent around me to get that goal of being a championship done. That's what the organization is supposed to be doing, from owner to GM to coach to the roster. If you're not doing this, and this, you don't deserve a superstar. You don't do it. You don't deserve it. You're not drafting me here to just get me paid. I can get paid on any roster, man. I can get paid on any roster that want me. That's the purpose of restricted free agent. That's the purpose of unrestricted free agency. And that's the purpose of the buyout. You might not want me. That's cool. Somebody else might. They might do everything you didn't want to do. But if you felt that way, I'm cool with it. That's why I'm signing and getting traded to somewhere else too. And that's why them things work that way. And that's why we've been seeing a lot of player movement, especially stars, because they don't want to hear all this stuff when the organization ain't doing their part either. And I would agree with that. But the Spurs have found ways to get it done. Even if it's with David Robinson, even if it's with Tim Duncan, like I said, they couldn't really do it in free agency, so they did it in the draft. They drafted David Robinson, they drafted Tim Duncan, they drafted Parker, they drafted Ginobili, etc., etc., etc. They drafted and traded for Kawhi Leonard, which helped them win another ring. And now they got Wemby, and they did good developing Keldon and Devin Vassell. They developed well so far with Stephon Castle, and they did a good job trading for De'Aaron Fox. And we look at the Spurs as a well-run organization that does prioritize and win it. So that's something that we can't take them out of the conversation for, because that has been something that they've been proving that they can do since they became a team in the NBA. And they're running their organization the right way. And that's why so many people got love. And that's why so many people got respect for the Spurs. Even the Warriors said, we want to be just like the Spurs. When they was trying to make the playoffs, they were trying to make a name for themselves. And then they won 4 championships. But that was one of the ideas they had in the back of their mind. We want to be like the Spurs. And Steve Kerr was under the tutelage of Greg Popovich. And then he was able to bring that over to Steph, Clay, and Dre, and a little bit of KD in there. And then they was able to show that we exactly like the Spurs, just in our own way. And we'll see what happens with them this year. But they have found a way to get another star in Jimmy Butler. They had injuries to Steph in the playoffs. So we'll see what they do with a full season and another playoffs, hopefully ahead of them. But I hear what y'all saying, man. Like I said, and that's what you can say. Dame did go to the Milwaukee Bucks and it didn't work out. He got bought out. And now he went back to Portland. But Portland doesn't really look like a team that's going to win anything no time soon. They got some good players like Drew Holiday, Tamani Kamara, Denny Avdia, and stuff like that. But, you know, we have to see how he's going to look and how he's going to play in the future, because Dame has a severe injury and he does use athleticism a lot when he's trying to blow past people and create separation to score, even with his jump shot. And you do need that lift when you're trying to shoot from three or from the logo. So the Achilles is really tough for a player like Dame that's smaller and not as tall and long like a Kevin Durant or Jason Tatum. But they can just call switches and score isolation that way. Is really no switch for Damian Lillard. And that's why it's going to be tougher for him to come back because he's a smaller player. But we have to see because he's been putting in the work his whole career. He's top 75 because he's really good at this game. But, you know, trying to win without athleticism is terrible when you're shorter than the other guys like Dominique Wilkins, too, that came back. Remember, Isaiah Thomas for the Detroit Pistons ruptured his Achilles and he retired because he lost a lot of speed and stuff like that and never was the same, and he was gone. He's a finals MVP. He's a back-to-back champion. Once he did that, he was done. He's still one of the greatest players ever, but he never recovered. I know technology and medicine is different now, but Dame does use a lot of that burst, and he does use a lot of that lift, and the Achilles injuries does take a lot of that away. So we do have to think about that too, because like I said, the Bucks looking at it like, man, he's going to be going all year. And if he does come back, he's not going to be the same. And we still got so many years that we better off just going in another direction. You got to look at it. Even if the Bucks are mediocre, they're going to get a first round pick that's higher than what they got this year. So I think that's maybe the best way for them to go. You know, you're not going to win a championship every year. Giannis said that himself, and he's been one of the best players in the league for multiple seasons. And even he's admitting that. We're not going to win it every year because Chris Middleton got injured, you know, then Damian Lillard got injured, and he got injured. They haven't won a championship being competitive in a long time because of injuries. Yeah, you can say he went to the Bucks out of his prime. But Dame still was balling, though. We gotta give him his credit. He wasn't bad for the Bucks. It's just they lost a lot of defense just to get a more offensive player. And I feel like Giannis declined defensively the last couple of years, and Brook Lopez declined defensively too. And that was a big reason why they really wasn't as good as people thought that they might be. Defense does matter, and defense is mainly the reason why you're going to win a championship. And it's mainly because you have to control the person that you're going against enough to be able to score against them. Because either they scoring on you or you scoring on them. Whoever can stop the team the most has a good chance of winning that game and winning that series. That's why we always say defense should be your number one priority. When they went for Dame, they got rid of a lot of that. And it is what it is, but they still don't really have that much defense. Miles Turner, Giannis should be good, but they still need a more pop in that starting lineup. I gotta go though. Thank y'all for spending time with me. Thank y'all for leaving the comments. Comment, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell for more analysis if you haven't, so you can get it when it first come out. I do conversation video just like this on a daily basis almost. I also do breakdowns with real footage of legends, current legends, rookies, future stars, and also mock draft and draft coverage. So if you love that type of stuff, I got over 3,000 videos plus already on my channel that you can watch and you can enjoy right now, and it's all for free. Not only that, like I said, I upload every day. Y'all have a blessed day. Y'all have a good night. Y'all stay blessed up. I'm gone for now. Peace. And don't forget, it's not easy getting to the top of that mountain. Most people going to try to push you off that mountain, kick you off that mountain so they can be on the top of the mountain and yell on top of it. So they ain't trying to help you. That's one thing this legend forgot. If you taking the helicopter to the top instead of climbing that mountain, people ain't trying to help you. LeBron and them learned that. I love playing against D-Wade, but I'm trying to win a championship too, and he did. I'm trying to go against the Carmelos. I'm trying to go against the Durants, the Tim Duncans. We're not trying to give you talent. I remember that Greg Popovich, he said the same thing about Kobe. When they gave Kobe Bryant, Paul Gasol in that trade, Greg Popovich called it the gift. People forget that because that's what Kobe was missing was a Paul Gasol. And once he got to Paul Gasol, he went to 3 straight NBA finals. People don't even count that as a team hop. People don't even bring that up. Paul Gasol was rookie of the year. He was an all-star caliber player, and he basically went there for his brother, who was slower than him, but probably a better defender. But Paul Gasol can pass. He can post, he can score, and he can hit free throws and mid ranges. But that was something else. You don't really hear people saying Paul Gasol was a team hopper, even though he got traded to play with Kobe Bryant. 3 straight finals and 2 straight back-to-back championships. People don't bring that up, but it is something that y'all slept on. That was a team hop by Paul Gasol. And when Kobe Bryant got Paul Gasol, he said, "You ready to win championships?" And they did. Like I said, Kobe was ready to leave LA for Chicago. I'm getting tired of them Kobe fans acting like Kobe was loyal for the whole career. Kobe Bryant wanted out of LA. And then they said, "We will get you a guy." And it ended up working out. And we don't really remember it because he ended up staying his entire career with the Lakers after they got Paul Gasol, in Dwight Howard, in Steve Nash, and almost Chris Paul. Look at all those people that was going to have to leave their team to go to Kobe team to help him win more championships. People ain't trying to help you stay at the top. That's funny that Lakers fans and Kobe fans be saying it like that. That's not how the story went. People not trying to help you stay at the top. We're trying to win the championship just like you are. We'll give you Paul Gasol if you give us Marc Gasol. And then the Memphis Grizzlies was competitive for a couple years, and they've been one of the most memorable teams. But he was great with Kawhi Leonard. They won a championship in Toronto. They needed Marc Gasol to lock up the Embiids and stuff like that in the paint, and he did that, and that was a big reason why they beat the Sixers, and that was a big reason why they beat the Milwaukee Bucks in 6 games. They was down 0-2 against the Milwaukee Bucks, and they won 4 straight, and then got to the NBA Finals and beat the Warriors. I know Clay went down. I know that Kevin Durant went down, but you still got there, and you still was able to get it done. No excuses. Yeah, and I would agree with that because I don't really. That's not what happened with Kobe. Kobe was just like LeBron. I hear a lot of fans make it seem like Kobe wouldn't have done this. Kobe wouldn't have done that. Kobe asked for a trade. He was demanding a trade. So the Lakers fans been lying about that. You can go back and watch Stephen A. and those guys got footage on it. They got calls from Kobe on that. He wanted out of LA. And then they gave him Paul Gasol, almost Chris Paul, and Steve Nash, and Dwight Howard. That's what they have to do to keep Kobe Bryant in the Laker uniform. If you're not giving me the talent for us to win, I want out. Kobe was no different than LeBron. Kobe was no different than Kevin Durant. They were just able to get the star to come to him instead of him leaving. That's the truth. He ain't no different. They just happy that he retired the Laker, but that relationship was rocky and it was almost over. It was almost over because Kobe felt like, I'm just sitting here putting up numbers and I wasn't winning championships. That's the truth. Lakers fans been lying about that for years. And it's sad because it was all documented already and there's footage of it already. That's a lie that they've been telling about Kobe Bryant's career. Not true. Tim Duncan almost went to Orlando, but it didn't happen. And that was good for him because he ended up winning more championships with the Spurs anyway. So Tim Duncan wasn't as loyal either. He was thinking about leaving to go to Orlando in free agency. So these players ain't as loyal as you be thinking. They figured it out. They was able to get what they needed to compete for championships, but it still had to go their way to get it done. So let's not give some of these other players credit for not trying to. They were trying to take that helicopter to the top 2. They were just able to figure it out, and they was able to get the talent that they needed, and they respected to be able to win championships. So LeBron not really going about it the wrong way. Kevin Durant didn't really go about it their own way. The wrong way. They just went about it their way, and people just didn't get used to it, and people just didn't want to accept it because they just didn't want to see them win. So they still hold that grudge on them because they left to get it done, and they did, and they didn't do it with the team they was with before. Exactly. But I'm gone. Y'all stay blessed up. Peace. And I'll see y'all hopefully tomorrow. That's a classic. You